Week 6, day 3, quarantine, day 34. Starting to sound like a broken record, but same things apply as in earlier this week. This is the highest volume week that we are going to do. It's also the heaviest week that we're going to do. So next week we'll start the taper off. Less work, less conditioning pieces, and lighter weights starting next week, since this is really the peak on both the volume and the weights that we'll be using. Warm up today, work on that hip ankle mobility, since we're going to be doing some squat cleans today. That'll really help us out in getting into that bottom receiving position, and then also having kind of the mobility in our chest and upper body will really help us out with those pulls. After we finish that, 2 rounds, 15 band pull parts. Make sure that you're retracting the shoulder blades to start off with these band pull parts, and that we're keeping tension in the band the entire time. It's not just like that. We actually want to be purposeful with our movement as we're retracting the scapula and pulling that band apart, tension in it the entire time, so that we're actually working on that rotator cuff and our ability to pull our shoulder blades back and open up our chest. And then 20 wall balls or thrusters, up to you which one you do, but make sure it's a lightweight if you're doing the thrusters. And then 25 calories on the rower or the assault bike if you have one, or 400-meter run. So there'll be 2 rounds of that. Should be about 15 minutes for that warm up, and it's nice and prepped for our heavy strength that we've got going on. So this will be between 15 and 35 minutes on the clock for the work. So every 3 minutes on the minute, 4 or 5 sets, 3 squat cleans at 80 to 90%. So you should take about 5 minutes to work up to this 80 to 90% with singles, and then we'll start with that every 3 minutes on the minute, 4 or 5 sets of the 3 squat cleans at 80 to 90%. So we want this to be treated like 3 heavy singles in that 3 minutes. So I'll do squat clean, drop it, reset, squat clean, drop it, reset 3 times within that 3-minute interval there. These are meant to be heavy. So we want to really work on getting that violent hip extension and then quickly getting underneath of the clean, so that we're not catching it in a power clean and then riding it to the bottom, but we're catching it in the bottom of the squat for that clean. This is really working on that maximal strength for the Olympic lifts. The only time that we see the full squat clean is if we're trying to go for a max in that competition. So maybe the competition event will look like your heavy triple full clean, in which case we want to get into the bottom of the clean, because theoretically our squat clean should be heavier than what we can power clean, especially if we're doing it at reps for this. So about 20 minutes on that strength piece. Again, it's supposed to be heavy on our triples on this one. And then conditioning 1, 35 to 55 minutes on the clock for this one. This is meant to be a pretty quick chipper, but it does have the possibility of really tripping us up, especially in the skills. If we're unable to maintain our double unders during this workout, it has the possibility to really extend how long this is going to take us to get through. So descending reps on this one, starting with 90 double unders. It is 2 times the number of singles if that's what you're going to be doing on this one. And then we'll go into 30 double under shoulder to overhead. This is supposed to be a moderate weight. For men, RX would be 50, ladies would be 35, scaled would be 35, and 20 on the dumbbells for this one. I want to really encourage you that once you have your dumbbells up into the front rack, that we're not going back to the ground with them until we've gotten through all the reps. So I should be able to rep out 30 shoulder to overhead with my dumbbells, and then I put them on the ground. And I go through my dubs, and then 25 before I put them back down. Dubs, and then 20 before I put them back down. That's really going to be your challenge today, is to grind out all of those reps with the dumbbell shoulder to overhead, because as soon as I put it down on the ground, I'm not going to want to pick it back up. And the fact that I have to pick it back up from the ground creates a whole nother movement and a whole nother rep that I have to get through. And if I'm breaking this up 5 times, then that becomes 5 cleans that I have to do that I didn't have to do. I could have only done 1, held it up here in the front rack for brief rest, and then gone into these. So we want to be moving fast through this, and we don't want to add unnecessary movements, and we want to make sure that when we're coming back down with the weight, we're letting it drive us into the dip and then going back overhead. Just like with the push press and the push jerk that we've been working on with the heavier weights and the barbell. We want that weight to drive us into the dip, and then we rebound back up. And that's how we stay efficient in this movement and how we keep moving through conditioning 1 rather than stopping, putting down the weight, and having to add another clean into the movement and really slowing ourselves down and breaking that rhythm. So this is about rhythm, it's about moving fast, and it's about moving consistently and knocking out large rep sums in this. Allotted 20 minutes for that. It should not take that long. If it's taking that long, it's probably because you screwed up on your dubs, and you should really go ahead, bite that bullet, and go to the double singles rather than continuing to like break off 3 dubs at a time and end up just tripping yourself up and getting frustrated. Conditioning 2, AMRAP 6 minutes times 3. So we did AMRAP 6 minutes times 2 on Thursday. Now we're doing AMRAP 6 minutes times 3. There's still going to be large rep scheme in this, but it's a little bit different in that we have this cardio piece to begin with, which should be a very quick cardio piece. We should be moving very quickly, just under a sprint with this, moving with a sense of purpose, and then coming in. And the 21 deadlifts should definitely be something that you can, at least for that first round and probably into a second round, rep it out unbroken. That's really what we want to do, especially with deadlifts at a reasonable weight. And then with our 6 muscle-ups, pull-ups, ring rows, again, something that you should be able to knock out unbroken, at least for the first 2 rounds, before we have to start breaking it up. That's really what we're looking to do. So pick a pace for your cardio piece and maintain that pace, and then go unbroken with our deadlifts and then our gymnastics movement, at least for 2 rounds, and then maybe end up breaking it up as we get further into it. And there's 4 minutes of rest between each 6-minute AMRAP, so plenty of time to recover, get our breathing under control, and bring our heart rate down so that we can attack the second AMRAP and the third AMRAP. Not necessarily fresh, but at least with our breathing and our heart rate under control, so we can try to continue that same strategy that we had on the first AMRAP and continue with that same pace and the same unbroken deadlifts and gymnastics movement, hopefully. Giving you on that one 25 minutes to get through it all. It is 18 minutes of work, but then we do have 8 minutes in there of rest as well. And then moving into conditioning 3, again another straight cardio piece, running 200 meters and then 1 minute of rest for an 18-minute AMRAP in there. So we are looking for a sprint pace on this 200-meter run, and then you're going to get about 1-to-1 rest ratio, and just trying to get as many in here as possible. So somewhere around 9 rounds would be what we're expecting on this one. And that should take us over an hour and a half on the time if you're doing this in one session. So priorities of work on this one. The most important thing here is conditioning 2. Second most important thing is the strength portion on this. So if you're breaking this up into 2 sessions, I would do strength and conditioning 1 together, and then for the second session, I do conditioning 1 and conditioning 3 together. So most important things here, definitely conditioning 2 and strength, and then second most important after those 2 would be conditioning 1 with our straight cardio option bringing up the last in our priorities of work. So, yeah, I think that covers everything for day 3 on week 6. Like I said, this is the most volume that we're going to be doing. It starts to drop off next week with only really 3 days of a lot of work. And then we're gonna just step things back as we go into that mock taper for the competition. Obviously we're not doing the competition, but this will be good preparation for kind of the idea of what needs to be done before we actually go into a competition. If you decide not to do another comp prep programs before whatever competition ends up being next. So, again, hit me up with any questions, comments, concerns about the priorities of work or how this needs to be broken up, as well as the scaling, things like that, just like you've been doing. Keep grinding away. Make sure to try to hold each other accountable. Hit each other up. Make sure that they're getting through the work, or at least encourage them to continue to work through this. We get a ton of that when we're actually in the gym, but it's a whole lot harder to do now that everybody's kind of scattered and all that we have is like the Zoom or the Instagram to keep in touch with each other and encourage each other to keep working hard in this time. It's really hard without that accountability piece to push as hard as we need to be doing if we want to be CrossFit ready for the next competition that comes. So, thanks guys for humoring me and listening to me talk, run my suck for the last 15 minutes or whatever it is on this one. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the Zoom.